Hello, audience. I want to welcome you to our second half of our show where we're going to talk about oxygenated olive oil and coconut oil with Miss Nancy Kersey. Nancy Kersey is Integrative Health Systems editor of our publications, and also she has had many different fields and training, a potpourri of expertise in many aspects, from massage, through oils, through production, through professional writing as a reporter years ago. Nancy, are you there?
I'm here, Hilda. Hi.
Hi, dear, and I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show, and we're going to talk about oxygenated olive oil and coconut oil and its benefits. And for our audience, Nancy and I have been knowledgeable of each other a number of years, and we started production, she did for myself and also then into Integrative Health Systems in 2005, and we're going to share some history on that, and also before we begin into the topics of our show. And also, I know you and I have a mutual colleague, Norman Caldwell, who I'd like you to begin the show with that famous quote that he mentioned in reference to the oxygenation of oils, if you don't mind, Nancy.
Absolutely. This is something on the sublime side of science, and I know you'll pick up with the science. But first, here's the sublime. It comes from Norman Cowell from Sherman Oaks, and he is my mentor in this. He's held my hand, and he's responsible for my oxygen equipment. So here's something that Norman from his company Perfect Health writes in a little booklet. If you oxygenate a stagnant swamp and provide the right nutrients, you will soon have a viable little lake where fish can live in a nice environment, attractive to life rather than decay. Much of our interior landscape mirrors our outside environ. Swampy areas in our body are prone to attract any illness that decide to take up residence there. When we increase the oxygen levels in our blood, feed our cells the proper nutrients, circulation improves, and we just naturally want to move. Our attitude ascends, and we burn a little brighter. Consciousness is very much like a light. If we don't get enough oxygen with balanced nutrition, we don't burn very brightly. Oxygen is the primary element for almost all life on Earth. It is the foremost thing we need to survive, to which food and water are secondary. Centuries ago, when vast forests covered the Earth and the healthy oceans teemed with life, the atmosphere was up to 38% oxygen. This has been verified by analyzing bubbles trapped in amber. This is something Chris would like to hear on the show a few weeks ago. Pine sap from eons ago, and by deep core ice drilling. Today, the oxygen content of our atmosphere is generally less than 20%, and in some industrial cities, even lower. This is due in part to planetary deforestation, chlorinated water, devitalized soil, and oceanic pollution. The body is supplied with oxygen through the process of oxidation. Oxidation contributes to proper metabolic functioning, better circulation, assimilation, digestion, and elimination. It also helps purify the blood by keeping it free from cellular waste buildup. Sufficient oxygen gives the body a chance to rebuild itself and strengthen the immune system. Oxygen deficiency equals low energy, resulting in anything from fatigue to life-threatening disease. In theory, if enough oxygen could be pumped into the bloodstream and all the nutrients delivered and the waste products eliminated, we could terminate the aging process. In reality, we should at least be able to slow it down.
And Nancy,
are you still there? Are you still breathing?
Yeah, I'm here. That is wonderful because it is so important, oxygen, and also from the production. Can you share with the audience the production, not meaning giving the proprietary information, but I know you and I both in the very beginning of our association, because you had this equipment and we decided let's go produce it, because industry out there, it is a time-consuming process in production of our the Bacemi oxygenated olive oils and for coconut and olive. At the same time, it is very cumbersome, in getting it to do properly the way it's supposed to do. And I know both you and I share in a criteria of having the purest quality of organic materials, even though our label doesn't say organic on it. But share with the audience that importance, because in today's age, you want it pure.
Yeah,
go ahead,
here's the reason it doesn't say organic, and that is because the labels, it was kind of like the cart before the horse deal, and basically we were so excited and we were having the labels printed, and I said, oh my God, don't print organic on there, because I'm not sure, we haven't finished shopping and deciding, doing our research which coconut oil that we want. And so I said, I'm afraid to put it on there, and then for some reason I don't get organic, and then we're misrepresenting ourselves. So trust me, it is organic. And here's something that's interesting, that a lot of people, they hear about coconut oil or palm oil, especially when you go to the movies, and your popcorn. Oh my God, what are they putting in there? But the thing to know about that, so coconut oil, I think in the past has gotten a little bit of a bad rap. But here's the reason. That's hydrogenated. This is not. And it's a source of medium chain, and that's really important. Medium chain, not long chain, triglycerides, no trans fatty acids, no hydrogenation.
Right, and hydrogenation means that they pump hydrogen gas in it so that you can, there's a common baking item, that's we use in a majority of all houses that replaced lard so that it can make pie crust, et cetera, this way, and it's from the hydrogenation of that vegetable oil so that it makes a solid white mass. And in your process, you use not only just for the olive oil and the coconut oil, we'll break it up, olive oil, coconut oil, but in the total process of that, you use pharmaceutical grade oxygen, or medical grade oxygen, I should say, medical grade versus technical grade.
Exactly. And here's something that I first became aware of the oxygenated olive oil through my massage association, my International Massage Association. And here's what they said, because they started producing this product. And then it was like, well, a light went on. Well, why do I buy it from them? Why can't I produce it? But here is what they recommend. Just 5 drops. That's not very much. And you take it with a dropper, and I like to put it, I'm right-handed, so I like to have the dropper in my right hand, put it in the palm of my left hand, and then take my fingers and rub it around, not just take the dropper and put it on you, because you want to get even more vibration into that oil before you put it on the body. And 5 drops gently rubbed into a sore muscle will eliminate the pain. And so that's incredible.
Right, and I want to share with that, because in my early studies years ago, I used to consult with Katanti Olive Oil in Canada, and I was part of the International Olive Oil Association years ago. And we found that olive oil, just like DMSO, would absorb into the circulatory system within 10 seconds once it's put on the skin, versus all other oils and the majority of all other chemicals was 25 seconds. So that means that when you massage it in, you're absorbing in, it's carrying the oxygen to that muscle that's in pain, which is possibly from lack of oxygen in that muscle due to whatever's happening in it, whether it's circulatory problems or a contaminant there or an injury, etc.
Absolutely. And you can do even more than just your sore spot. If you let's say you go and you get massage, if your massage therapist does not have massage oil that has been oxygenated, buy your own bottle, take it, and let them combine it. And so you're not using a whole lot with the carrier oil that they're using on you. And then you're putting that oxygen into your entire body, not just the sore spots, everything. And you know what that, well, no, I'm going to read that later. Sorry. So it's incredible. Now, here's something, again, from the president of the massage organization. And he talks about how this product helped him with an earache. Now, the bottle says for external use only, he says. However, I use it internally. I add some, in addition to putting it in his ear for the earache, he adds some to his salad dressing, and he eats it. And then he had a client that had MS, and he ingested 3 drops 3 times a day, and now has normal bowel movements for the first time in almost 4 years. Now, he says, I'm not telling you to use it internally. I'm simply telling you my experiences. And then he closes by saying, the best things in life are often the simplest. This oil is one of them.
Right. And I know that in the Bible and also in the New Testament it's been mentioned about olive oil and its miraculous use. And it was also one of the largest commodities in use through the Egyptian time, the Greek, the Roman time in trade. It goes back for its use, you'll like this, Nancy, from muscular pain, ulcers, and cholera, as back as 400 BC with the use with Hippocrates, who is the father of modern medicine. He was using it for the treatment of those types of disorders in ancient times. And what is the difference with olive oil and coconut oil is that olive oil has, as we know, the virgin press, which means they use a stone grinding wheel, and it presses the oils out of the olive, and that is first virgin oil, which means that's the first press. They don't keep going back and pressing it again, and it has the highest amount of chlorophyll. That's why it has green. Some illegal activities, meaning they can put food coloring in it, etc., this way. And that's why you have good organizations like the International Olive Oil Council. It's always monitoring its members' oils, etc., and also spin-off divisions of it or associations like the California Oil Institute, Olive Oil Institute, and other sources that way, so that they can guarantee their members that oil is the purest of what it's been tested for. And from our production side, I always have told you the greener the better, because I'm always looking for the most amount of chlorophyll in it so it can carry that oxygen molecule for its benefits.
I can remember when we first started shopping. Oh, my gosh, we started. Matter of fact, we went to Koreatown, and we were in one of the stores there, grocery stores, and then the darn bottles, if they're brown or green, guess what? It doesn't really let you see the color of the oil. So we had to figure that out and not be led astray by that. You know what I'd love to tell you about here is what limits our oxygen, and I have a list. Air pollution greatly reduces the oxygen we inhale. 100 years ago, our air contained 32% oxygen. Okay, so you think, oh, maybe that's a little low. Oh, no, that was good. Now it averages 19%, and in most of our major cities, it's about 12 to 15%. Polluted air is caused mostly by transportation sources. Motor vehicles account for 77% of the carbon monoxide, 45% of the nitrogen oxides, and 35% of the hydrocarbon emissions. Even indoors, we're not safe there. The EPA studies indicate that air pollution indoors may be 2 to 5 times higher than the outdoor level. You know, I think normally we'd think, oh, I'm safer inside. Apparently not. And given that the majority of people spend 90% of their time indoors, this is something to pay attention to. And then you've got synthetic materials such as carpets and upholstery, heavy metals, cleaning agents, solvents, glues. Am I depressing you? And pesticides. So Oh, my gosh, no wonder we're worn out and tired and dragging around. Stress is something else. It causes the muscles to tighten, breathing to become shallow. So there's a problem. And a poor diet can also deplete the body of oxygen. That's why you need diets with plenty of raw vegetables and fruits, in all the different colors. I know you aspire to that, Hilda. And,
yes.
Is this a time we want to talk about what you're growing outside and what we're eating?
Well, we'll touch on it. The thing is, we have a new project with nasturtiums, and that's what Nancy was sharing. But before we leave olive oil and the applications, a lot of the olive oil and its use was in Italy, Spain, and Greece, and then brought to California. And also, it's grown in Mexico. There's many orchards down there. And Mexico in particular has a high content of minerals, meaning like the clays. So you get more mineralization. And during World War II, there was a lot of food no food was available in Greece during that time, and many people stayed alive by taking a tablespoon of olive oil a day or more to sustain life because of its nutrients within it. And during the late 90s, there was exposure to great oil spills that affected sometimes of the oil industry because it was concerned about the trees, meaning the olive trees, and its absorption from the pollution. So in many cases, that's why I stress Raman analysis, so that we can address the purity of not only our product but the raw materials that we use in our products, because my goal in particular is to make sure that it has a very good life force within it so that you can absorb that life force and get the nutrients that you need to maintain your own radiant heat. Nancy?
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'd like to, if you're done with that. Oh, actually,
sure.
I have a question for you. And
yes.
I, for some reason, can't keep it straight in my head. But you say, okay, if you need vitamins, you need this oil, and if you need minerals, you need this oil. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. In particular, because the root span of the olive tree is far greater than the coconut root span, it gets a lot, and it has to grow in good soil so that it gets a lot of nutrients, meaning the trace minerals, which are needed in the body. So that's contained a lot of trace minerals in the olive oil. In particular, olive oil trees, some of the olive trees that were around in Jesus' time, meaning over 2,000 years, are still alive. So it is a tree of longevity. So it has, I want to say, good plant genes that have survived over time due to the environmental problems. Coconuts, which are the palm, which is mainly grown in subtropical or tropical areas, have an endurance, and they grow, and their fruit is very beneficial, not only the coconut water, which they're finding now with research in kidney function so that it can heal the kidney in many kidney diseases, but also the difference being, if you looked at the oil, why it has more enzymes, more proteins that has a total different function than olive oil does. So when you can combine the two of them or use both of these oils in cooking, you have the benefit of both of those types of oils for health benefit within the body, and also in coating the body with these oils that were used many times in religious events for anointing the body. It also will help give nutrients to the body and to the skin so that it can repair itself and be more healthy and have better activity.
I want to offer one caution there, and that is you want to be cooking with larger amounts not with the oxygenated oils we produce, but with a good quality extra virgin, etc., organic coconut or olive oil. And you know what I've read, and actually this is a good way to introduce this author, and that is, and I'll get to my point here in a minute, I first came in contact with the books of Bruce Fife, and he's a naturopathic doctor and a certified nutritionist and president of the Coconut Research Center. And I came in contact with his books in the aisles of a hallowed place here in, technically I think it's still Los Angeles, on Melrose Avenue, and that is the Bodhi Tree Bookstore. I just think the #1 metaphysical bookstore in the world. Sadly, it's closing soon, but hopefully someone will take it over. But what Bruce says is that really you don't want to be heating your olive oil up to cook. Instead, use that on your salads or anything where you're going to keep it at low temp or no temp, just room temp, and then use your coconut oil to do your cooking. And so when you're buying your coconut oil, if you love that sweet taste of the coconut, oh my gosh, in a stir fry, fabulous. He even gives recipes in the Coconut Oil Miracle Book. He's got 50 recipes. But he said if you're one of those people that don't like that coconutty taste, then there are some without the taste that you can use to do the cooking.
Right, and, where it has the small chains, as you mentioned earlier with the coconut oil, of the small chain triglycerides.
Right.
People have a misconception, I've always felt, with triglycerides and cholesterol.
Uh-huh.
No one's asking the question, if I have higher levels of triglycerides, which come out secondary to cholesterol in the response of the liver, why am I going up in value? Usually the result is you're going up in value because you've been exposed to some toxin, whether it's a pesticide, a pharmaceutical agent that's interacting with the liver, or illegal drug, whatever you may be doing. The thing is that it's the natural body of the human body to respond by sending out triglycerides and cholesterol to encapsulate those foreign bodies or those toxins. And in particular with the coconut oil, it sends out these responses so that it can take in toxins and also give you the beneficial enzymes and fatty acids. And those fatty acids that are in coconut oil, when they're mixed with saliva, they tend to absorb faster into the body, and at the same time give the total benefit to the body in removing toxins that could be accumulated, from viruses or funguses that can get into our salivary glands.
Here's something that Bruce says, and I can remember when I first learned a number of years ago about coconut oil, and even looked at his book, and it's safe, and you should take several tablespoons a day, and you're just, it was kind of like, okay, eat a half a pound of butter. It sort of felt that way, and I was like, it took me about a year. I looked at that jar of coconut oil, which if it's lower than 76 degrees, it will be solid. If maybe you don't have air conditioning on and it gets really warm, it will liquefy, but don't panic. It's not a problem. You can use it either way, or you can keep it in the refrigerator if you want to keep it solid. Now, when I'm talking here about what Bruce says in his book, I'm not talking about my oxygenated, our oxygenated product. I'm talking about the coconut oil before it's oxygenated, and he says it is essentially non-toxic to humans. It is considered safer than soy, which many people eat by the pound. Now, the FDA has put coconut oil on its list of foods, its GRAS, G-R-A-S list, and that means generally regarded as safe. It's said to be an exclusive list, and only the foods that have passed stringent testing and have a history of safe usage can qualify for listing there. So, Bruce says, start slowly. and you'll find it's really very pleasant. I can eat it right off the spoon with no problem. But if you're a little, a little freakish about that, make some toast and put it on instead of your butter, and you'll find out how incredible it is. And maybe you start, for an adult, starts with 2 to 4 tablespoons of coconut oil daily. And this could be achieved through cooking, taking it as a supplement, or by applying it, like our oxygenated coconut oil, directly to the skin.
Right, and many of the oxygenated oils, I want to stress too, they have been oxygenated so that you can absorb the oxygen through the carrier of these oils. It's not like using the pure oil for cooking or for eating, but for a therapeutic value more than just ingesting all the time. The thing too with the coconut oils, they have found the benefits for the absorption so that it reduces the amount of osteoporosis so that you can absorb your calcium better within the body, and the gallbladder, because gallbladder's disease, I'm going to call it disease, is going up phenomenal in the last 5 years. I've never heard so many crystallized gallbladders occurring, and this is because the fatty acids and the enzymes that are associated with digestion are reacting to a lot of the pollutants that are in the body, and also within possible food sources with the introduction of modified food starch, which is waterborne polyurethane styrofoam cups. The thing is that in using coconut oil, it helps reduce that burden of the toxins, and at the same time, because it has some molecule to absorb on, it helps to have good bowel and also gallbladder function. I know that in many cases with like Crohn's disease and the interaction of microorganisms, coconut oil has been found in studies to be very beneficial to reduce colonitis, stomach ulcers, and other digestive problems. And a lot of that occurs with individuals that have a hard bowel movement, and also with that people don't realize that the mouth to anus and the anus to mouth in the formation of the embryo is the first organ system that is formed after the blastomere. And many chemicals are absorbed during that time in the development of the embryo. So you may think you have a genetic disorder, but in reality you may have the chemical attached still to the source of the cell. And when you have that and you use pure products like coconut oil or olive oil, it helps to reduce the body burden of those chemicals.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
I'd like to read.
Go ahead.
Huh?
Go ahead.
I'd like to read the label on the oxygenated coconut oil and the things that it does for you, for your body. It's very similar with the olive oil as well. And here we go. A natural, anti-aging, very fabulous, tropical elixir for the face and the body to restore elasticity, relieve dryness, flaking, and cracking, soothe inflammation and pain, reduce scars, keloids, dandruff, head lice, psoriasis, and acne. Moisturizes the skin's natural pH after bathing, and restores antimicrobial and the acid barrier. And here's for all you mothers out there, excellent for diaper rash. Now, Bruce Fife, the author that I was quoting here earlier, says that applying the coconut oil to the skin is just about equal with ingesting it. So that's, the way it's absorbed by the skin is incredible. And here's a little trick that I tried. It works so beautifully on wrinkles of the face. And they will disappear during just a session of only 30 minutes. And I did this, actually, with the olive oil. I know we're jumping back and forth. I'm getting confused between the two. But you were amazed. I told you nothing of my experiment. So here I was. We had decided to manufacture the olive oil. And so, I don't know, I got this stroke of genius, if I don't say so myself, and I slathered it. I'm talking more than you would normally put on, because normally you want to put on just enough to be absorbed into your skin of either the olive oil or the coconut oil. So you don't want to overdo it. But I was doing a treatment. So I had these special facial pads. I don't know, what would you call them?
Like towelettes with
towelettes. Okay, but it was like the face, and then it had little cutouts for the eyes and the nose so you could breathe. And then I had some just rectangular ones that I put on my neck. So first I put on the oil, then I laid down, and I put the mask on the face and the towelette on the neck, and it's moist. You pull it out of the packet, and it's moistened with this special water with special minerals in it. And then I put one of our MPS far infrared rainbows. So that's like a big half circle that's, 18 inches wide? Hilda?
Yeah, almost.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
2 feet wide,
laid down,
18 inches high.
Put that over me, put a blanket each end to seal me in there. And I stayed under there with that far infrared heat, true, pure far infrared heat, for 30 minutes. Now I mosey into the bathroom, and I think, okay, it'll be one of those deals where you worked on your face, and, well, if I squint and I step back 10 paces, maybe I'll think I look better. But instead I walked right up to the mirror. Oh, my gosh, I almost fell down on the floor. It was unbelievable. I had two horizontal lines pretty deep on my neck. I attributed it to the aging process. But then I found some pictures when I was 40, and they were there then. Oh, my gosh. They were gone. They were gone in one treatment. And then I went and picked you up, Hilda, and we were going somewhere. I said nothing, and it took you about a nanosecond to look at me and say, "What have you done?" Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You were astounded, weren't you?
Yeah, I was astounded because, and this also, we know that far infrared works beautifully, the MPS, with production of the collagen, in particular sebum, which is an enzyme that produces so that you can make good connective tissue, which is the striated muscles that are needed so that you have the elasticity within the underskin, so you don't sag. And at the same time, having the nutrients and the oxygen, you're replacing it because far infrared goes into and follows the fresh water within the cells and then allows that absorption. So and this material, the more you use it, the better you look, the better you feel. It's an additive effect. It never reduces whatever you've been using on it in this type of approach. And I've even known we've done where we had individuals that coat their whole body and go into the equipment, not here, but, in their home, and have excellent results in reducing pain and also putting it into their body because it oxygenates. In particular, when you're doing that, or like in a sauna, or that we stress to put it on the back of the neck by the oxyput, because I did original studies about 10 years ago where we found that in 20 minutes after putting it there, it went through the whole body in exposure through the circulatory system.
Well, I remember distinctly when you told me, and maybe the oxyput is all you need, but then I know you've also liked to put it down either side of the spine, and then you said we put them in one of our far infrared capsules, and you've created a hyperbaric.
Yes, because
without the big price tag.
Well, without the price tag and also the pressure. I years ago I had an operation in Dominican Republic and also in Winter Park with a colleague. He's passed away, Dr. James Parson, well-renowned in anti-aging and the World Center of Anti-Aging years ago. And we had a tank of oxygen that was approximately 10 feet in diameter outside that was pumped into the building. And coming from health and safety, I used to always have visions of that exploding. So, and I've seen years ago a compressed gas tank explode and act like a missile in my field. So I've always been hesitant of that. I love hyperbaric. I think it's the best thing that's ever been invented. But at the same time, I've always worried about that oxygen tank. So when we were able to not only see it with our natural products of the oxygenated oils and the absorption within the body and its reaction, it was totally beneficial. It was creating it without the hyperbaric, as we've done with dry oxy capsules too. But why I liked at that time the oils is because you got the benefit of the oils in addition to the oxygen, which is many people when they come here or go to for hyperbaric, they're very ill, and they're using that as a resource to get oxygen back into the system.
Here's some other interesting things. Remember when we had a client, an old client of yours, or patient, I should say, and she came in sort of spur of the moment yesterday, and she went in the bathroom to get ready, and then I was sitting here waiting to put her into the sunbeam capsule, and she was in there a long time, and then she came out, and she looked different. And I thought, did she wet her hair? What did she do? And you said, you know what? She put the oxygenated coconut oil in her hair, so and then she got in the capsule. And it will help control dandruff and improve the appearance of your hair. And you apply it right to your scalp and massage it in, and you work it around, and you let it soak into your scalp and hair for at least 15 minutes, or the longer the better. Yeah. And another thing it does is for your feet. You work it between the toes and top and bottom, and this is a great way to treat foot fungus. And we often, forget about our feet, and they get cracked and dry and infected. My favorite thing, if my heels are looking a little rough, I'll just slather on the coconut oil, the oxygenated coconut oil, put on some old socks, and I'll do that for 1 to 3 nights. And, oh, my gosh, it's just like baby skin afterwards.
Right, and that's so true. With socks, or even I've known friends of mine that live in Mohawk territory in Ganawaki that they put plastic bags on their feet, so that it can absorb in, because they were always afraid of the oil getting on the sheets and stuff like that.
Right.
But the thing is with this too is even if you use like a vibrating foot bath and allow the viruses and allow the toxins to come out of your body, when you can nurture your feet with oxygenated olive oil or coconut oil, it really heals and gets the nutrients back into your body, because our feet we abuse so much, just like our hands, and it's the first one we grab with our hands. Is the first ones to get the toxin in, because usually it's we're touching it.
Right. Here's something else that plagues a lot of people of all ages, and that's all types of skin blemishes, especially on the face. Now, quoting Bruce Fife here, he's had deep discolorations caused by injuries that were 3 or 4 years old fade away within weeks. Acne breakouts become less troublesome, wrinkles, growths, and liver spots start to fade. It soothes and speeds the healing of burns, cuts, insect bites, and other injuries. It keeps skin strong and elastic, that's crucial, and is an excellent way to heal stretch marks after childbirth. So for best results, the expectant mother should massage the coconut oil into the abdomen every day, continue it after delivery until the marks are completely gone.
And I know I have many new mothers that not only have used it on their body, but also have used it on their newborn, because it's baby safe, so that they can have a beautiful skin and be healthy, because we're all affected. And sometimes, when you have newborns or toddlers, as a new mother and also as a mother, you don't want to expose them to toxins. So you like safe and absorbable materials.
Well, exactly. And here's another reminder, even though I read it on the label, and that is after you bathe, we strip away some of those important oils that the body needs. And so you need to replenish them, and the coconut oil will not only replenish them and nourish the skin and keep it elastic, it's putting your pH back where it's supposed to be. Now, I don't think many other, shall we say, creams or whatever do that.
Right, and especially if you eat the oils, it helps balance out that pH, which is acidic in the stomach, and helps it make it alkaline and also disperse those nutrients that are needed there for the intestine and the small intestine. And I know studies in that same book that you mentioned by Bruce Fife and the Coconut Institute, they did studies where they showed that when you're having digestion problems or Crohn's disease or anything, your small intestine is always more active, so it makes like a fist and it puts pressure on the pancreas, so you're continually releasing pancreatic enzymes, and this can attribute to diseases and disorders of the intestinal colon or pancreatitis, and then go into cancer of the pancreas from overuse of that. But when you have oils like the olive oil and the coconut oil, it helps give the nutrients to those organs, help bind that excess amount of pancreatic acids that are being given off and enzymes, so that then you have the absorption so that you can start to heal those organs. And it's so beneficial in the long run that people don't know about it. They're coming of age in it, not only for the use of it that they've done in cooking and as using it as a commodity. It is so beneficial. Even in another book that you and I've shared, and I first I knew about oil pulling, and it's also written by Bruce Fife, oil pulling therapy, and also was a guest on a show, The Power Hour, where we talked about oil pulling. But when you can use the oils like olive oil in its natural state and then add a drop or two of the oxygenated olive oil, or even putting a little smidgen of the oxygenated coconut oil, because under refrigeration it's a solid mass. You just put a little bit, and it mixes with the oil, with just stirring it, because that's friction and it causes it to melt. And you put that in your mouth and you swoosh it around through your teeth, and that it pulls out so many toxins. And getting the oxygen, you can see the change in your gums, see the change in your teeth. And also, please do not swallow that oil or anything, because it does have a lot of toxins in it, and you spit it out. And I have done in the past analyzed that material, and we have found DDT, aldrin, and other types of compounds that are known to get into the glands that you don't realize that you have them there.
Ooh, my gosh.
Are you familiar with oil pulling, Nancy?
I actually am not, until you mentioned it just the other day. And now I've got the book and I've got your knowledge, and I'm going to give it a whirl.
Yeah, because I think, I've stressed through a lot of our shows that we're offering to the public, from the One Cell, One Light radio, that it's time or it's the age for you to take responsibility of your own health. And people have so much access with the Internet, and I love to use the Internet like a library, and you can get information, and our goal is to have good information, truthful information, so that it helps you not only in information but also in healing your body, and also making you more scholarly on the subject matter, so that you can detoxify your body. And if oral cleansing is very beneficial, I think a lot of dentists and healthcare providers that do in oral health, in particular like with cancer of the jaw or anything, it would be interesting to see studies that if they did this oral pulling, or what they call oil pulling with oxygenated oils, or that if it reduces the amount of cancer in the cells, etc., because a lot of cancer is the result of no oxygen in the cell, which we've seen through the starvation of the cell, in the mechanisms. And the more viral load, the more ability for for it not to get the right signal in functioning properly on the immune sensors that help with regulation of the immune system and the sensory approach. With the oil pulling, though, it's very important that you get rid of the materials because especially if you were doing it and you were doing in the mouth, and say you were, like we talked in the earlier show about mercury, it will, possibly be in that material. So it's very important that you dispose of it properly, in that, because a lot of dental tooth decay is caused by chemicals or improper, they blame everything on sugar, but a lot of these materials that we get our sugar from have pesticides in it, et cetera, and I don't see anybody looking at it. And our Department of Agriculture in the United States have a beautiful website you can look at, www.usda.com, where it lists all the different vegetables, the different oils, et cetera, that they have tested what pesticides are in it. And if you start to look at the pesticides and look at what the history of the toxicity, you'll see a pattern possibly in your life if you are using these other types of oils, okay? And there are many recipes that are not only in both of these books, but in other books. I'm going to have it listed at the end of the show so that you can use that as a little reference so that you can do in cooking and that. And as Nancy mentioned earlier in the show of our new project, you want to share about that with the nasturtiums? We're going to have that at the end of July on our Edible Flowers show.
Yum, yum, yum. You said, and I think I was aware that certain flowers, shall we say, or whatever, leaves, are edible. And so you have this virtual garden in these flower boxes in front of our offices, and you've even sort of commandeered some other offices with permission.
Called the whole second floor audience.
Yes, we're on the second floor of like a little
with
old-fashioned
permission from
mini
the landlord.
Yes. Oh, no, you did it the right way. So you've got these glorious sunflowers and then nasturtiums. I love them because if you haven't seen them, the leaves are round. And wait, I got a cough. So sorry. And the flowers are beautiful. They're almost iridescent. And you've got these orange ones and these deep scarlet ones. So I was ready. I was going with the program. And you're like, oh, my gosh, I put it together and I did it this way. And, of course, you mentioned, which I didn't have in my refrigerator at the time, one of my favorites is it's a goat cheese, and it's called Humboldt, Humboldt, fog. And it's got blue veining through it. It is divine. So if you want to go whole hog, as the saying goes, go to somewhere like Whole Foods, get some Humboldt fog, and then they have this wonderful fig in this little round jar, not where the other preserves are, but like in their fabulous deli area. They've got this fig jam. So then you take the round leaf, which you have of the nasturtium, which you have rinsed off, and then you put down the Humboldt fog. If you want to go a little lower on the budget, and this is what I did because it was what I had at home the day you sent me home with the nasturtiums, I used whipped cream cheese, and then I put organic peach preserves. But now if you did the Humboldt fog, you would put the fig jam. Then I took the flower. Oh, by the way, I removed the stem off the leaves, the green round leaves, and I removed like the little extra doodahs from the flower. So I just had the bud, pressed it down, it spreads out, it looks fabulous. And then being me, sometimes I used to say more is better. I know that's not really true, but sometimes. So then I put more cheese and more jam on the other leaf, and I put that on the top. So basically I was kind of making a club sandwich. It is divine. I mean, you will amaze and maybe some of your dinner guests. So it can be a little amuse-bouche. That's a little appetizer in the beginning, like a famous chef would give you that. Or it can be dessert. It could be with the salad course, is like a little something extra on the salad plate. It's fun. It's just fun. It gets you in the garden. It gets you grounded. It gets you digging in the earth. And so Hilda, sometimes Dr. Hildy, she got a whole bunch of seed packets. So this goes along with that. And when she's filling orders and making the products look beautiful with these beautiful tissue papers, people said it's like opening a gift. You know, when I get my supplements or my gels or my whatever. And then she'll throw in a seed packet and say, okay, grow this.
Yeah, and I'll say use your Willard water so you can see what it does not only to your body but also to your plants and other things.
Of course, you've got to do two. You've got to do two then. So you have one without the Willard water and one with.
Yeah, but you can save it at the end a couple weeks, you know, as I always like to make everything healthy. The other thing is, too, that on these, like edible flowers, there is nothing stopping you from making, you know, like your marinades or your oils for your salads, and you can put a drop or a little smidgen of the oxygenated oils that we've discussed so that not only are you getting the benefits of the flowers and also its nutrients, but you're also getting the benefits of carrying the oxygen through your body, and it's that synergistic effect that is very, very beneficial that we have seen through this whole approach. And I think many of the chefs that are using not only organic produce and also organic meats and stuff that are coming of age, especially in the Philadelphia area. We're going to have them on a show, as I said, at the end of July, that last Wednesday. I believe it's the 27th of July. But be creative, not only from the use of these oils for your body and your face and internally, but be creative because there is so much good out there, and it's the combination. It's not traditionally just eating your romaine lettuce with tomatoes and your oil and vinegar. Put some pizzazz in it. Add some mushrooms to it. Add some balsamic vinaigrette or some
give them the recipe for the marigolds.
Oh, yes. We've experimented with marigolds, but do not eat the seeds because they may be like needles in your throat. Just use the petals. You can dice up a tomato, put some olive oil or coconut oil on it, then your favorite seasoning, like if you use any of the Bragg seasoning or our chalk-malt seasoning, you put that on, just as you would do salt and pepper. Diced tomato, take the marigold petals of the flower, put that on it. You can add with it some fresh basil leaves, mince it up, put that on it, and then use like blue cheese bacon dressing or poppy seed, mix that together. It is phenomenal, the taste, and also very, very cleansing. Marigolds are very good in antimicrobial and cleansing of the body, just as nasturtiums are. So when you combine it with these oxygenated oils by putting a spingen in or individually with their own dressings, it is so beneficial to the body, and you're going to learn a lot about it in the just weeks to come with our guests that are coming this way. Also,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I know you're coming up with something. I laugh and I say, well, Dr. Hildy's in the laboratory because you brought in your little whizzy thing, and you're over there whizzing up the flowers.
Yeah. Every time I bring in this blender or this other thing to make the prototype of something that we're newly formulating here at our Integrative Health Systems for our Botchamy or our Chocmaw lines, before it goes into production with our production crew. I'm always experimenting, and I always make like 20 of these little things and give it out to people, and then they tell me their comments. And I've even had our molecular biologist, Bobby. He was using it, and our new nasturtium gel, and he, from our botany gardens, he just raves about it for its ability to heal wounds, etc. this way. So we're going to have some new things, and I always like to create, and I could do it every day of my life, But we're going to go from shoestring budget to getting new shoes, as I say. So we're going to have fun, and we hope that over the summer you enjoy our topics that we're going to bring to you. From our guests like Nancy and also earlier Dennis Schiller. And we're going to have some very nice shows coming up with topics so that we can share the information with our audience. And I enjoy it, and I know you do too, Nancy. We have about 2 more minutes before we're going to end the show. Nancy, do you have anything else to say before I announce who our guest is?
Thanks. We haven't actually said it, but I want to say that the oxygenated olive oil and coconut oil that IHS has, they are part of the Bocce Me line, which also includes the gels, probably soon to be a nasturtium gel coming your way.
Yeah, it's going to be. We have, I love to read, I love to study, and I tell you, those medicinal plants of antiquity, I love. And it's coming of age with the wholeness of everything, because we want to make our temples beautiful. And as you increase oxygen, as Nancy mentioned earlier from a colleague of ours, Norman Caldwell's beautiful writings, that through oxygenation you increase your consciousness. So we hope that you all move into super consciousness with our portals. Next week, I'm going to be very honored to have a certified hypnotherapist. We're going to talk about hypnotherapy and also the dreams for your subconscious. Please look at our promo when it comes, and our guest will be, for both hours, Juanita Beth Morgan, very famous within the Los Angeles and international circles. So I want to thank all of our audience for listening. My 2 lovely guests today, Dennis Schiller on the first half and also Nancy Kersey from Integrative Health Systems and beyond. And move over, Dr. Milewski. I've got a laboratory too, or as he says, how does he say it, Nancy? Laboratory, okay? Take care, and God bless you all, okay? Bye-bye.
Informed, enlightened, alive and amplified. This is the Living Light Network.
Hello, audience. I want to welcome you to our second half of our show, where we're going to talk about oxygenated olive oil and coconut oil with Miss Nancy Kersey. Nancy Kersey is Integrative Health Systems editor of our publications, and also she has had many different fields and training, a potpourri of expertise in many aspects, from massage, through oils, through production, through professional writing as a reporter years ago. Nancy, are you there?
I'm here, Hilda. Hi.
Hi, dear, and I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. And we're going to talk about oxygenated olive oil and coconut oil and its benefits. And for our audience, Nancy and I have been knowledgeable of each other a number of years, and we started production, she did for myself and also then into Integrative Health Systems in 2005, and we're going to share some history on that, and also before we begin into the topics of our show. And also, I know you and I have a mutual colleague, Norman Caldwell, who I'd like you to begin the show with that famous quote that he mentioned in reference to the oxygenation of oils. if you don't mind, Nancy.
Absolutely. This is something on the sublime side of science, and I know you'll pick up with the science. But first, here's the sublime. It comes from Norman Cowell. Oxygen content of our atmosphere is generally less than 20%, and in some industrial cities, even lower. This is due in part to planetary deforestation, chlorinated water, devitalized soil, and oceanic pollution. The body is supplied with oxygen through the process of oxidation. Oxidation contributes to proper metabolic functioning, better circulation, assimilation, digestion, and elimination. It also helps purify the blood by keeping it free from cellular waste buildup. Sufficient oxygen gives the body a chance to rebuild itself and strengthen the immune system. Oxygen deficiency equals low energy, resulting in anything from fatigue to life-threatening disease. In theory, if enough oxygen could be pumped into the bloodstream and all the nutrients delivered and the waste products eliminated, we could terminate the aging process. In reality, we should at least be able to slow it down.
And Nancy,
are you still there? Are you still breathing?
Yeah, I'm here. That is wonderful because it is so important, oxygen, and also from the production. Can you share with the audience the production, not meaning giving the proprietary information, but I know you and I both in the very beginning of our association, because you had this equipment and we decided let's go produce it because industry out there, it is a title.
From Sherman Oaks, and he is my mentor in this. He's held my hand, and he's responsible for my oxygen equipment. So here's something that Norman from his company Perfect Health writes in a little booklet. If you oxygenate a stagnant swamp and provide the right nutrients, you will soon have a viable little lake where fish can live in a nice environment, attractive to life rather than decay. Much of our interior landscape mirrors our outside environ. Swampy areas in our body are prone to attract any illness that decide to take up residence there. When we increase the oxygen levels in our blood, feed our cells the proper nutrients, circulation improves, and we just naturally want to move. Our attitude ascends, and we burn a little brighter. Consciousness is very much like a light. If we don't get enough oxygen with balanced nutrition, we don't burn very brightly. Oxygen is the primary element for almost all life on Earth. It is the foremost thing we need to survive, to which food and water are secondary. Centuries ago, when vast forests covered the Earth and the healthy oceans teemed with life, the atmosphere was up to 38% oxygen. This has been verified by analyzing bubbles trapped in amber. This is something Chris would like to hear on the show a few weeks ago. Pine sap from eons ago, and by deep core ice drilling. Today, the really important medium chain, not long chain, triglycerides, no trans fatty acids, no hydrogenation.
Right, and hydrogenation means that they pump hydrogen gas in it so that you can, there's a common baking item, that's we use in a majority of all houses that replaced lard so that it can make pie crust, et cetera, this way, and it's from the hydrogenation of that vegetable oil so that it makes a solid white mass. And in your process, you use not only just for the olive oil and the coconut oil, we'll break it up, olive oil, coconut oil, but in the total process of that, you use pharmaceutical grade oxygen or medical grade oxygen, I should say, medical grade versus technical grade.
Exactly. And here's something that I first became aware of the oxygenated olive oil through my massage association, my International Massage Association. And here's what they said, because they started producing this product. And then it was like, Well, a light went on. Well, why do I buy it from them? Why can't I produce it? But here is what they recommend. Just 5 drops. That's not very much. And you take it with a dropper, and I like to put it, I'm right-handed, so I like to have the dropper in my right hand, put it in the palm of
consuming process in production of our the Bacemi oxygenated olive oils and for coconut and olive. At the same time, it is very cumbersome, in getting it to do properly the way it's supposed to do. And I know both you and I share in a criteria of having the purest quality of organic materials, even though our label doesn't say organic on it. But share with the audience that importance, because in today's age, you want it pure.
Yeah,
go ahead,
here's the reason it doesn't say organic, and that is because the labels, it was kind of like the cart before the horse deal, and basically we were so excited and we were having the labels printed, and I said, oh my God, don't print organic on there, because I'm not sure, we haven't finished shopping and deciding, doing our research which coconut oil that we want. And so I said, I'm afraid to put it on there, and then for some reason I don't get organic, and then we're misrepresenting ourselves. So trust me, it is organic. And here's something that's interesting, that a lot of people, they hear about coconut oil or palm oil, especially when you go to the movies, and your popcorn. Oh my God, what are they putting in there? But the thing to know about that, so coconut oil, I think in the past has gotten a little bit of a bad rap. But here's the reason. That's hydrogenated. This is not. And it's a source of medium chain, and that's